Brian here with Driving While ADHD. So the purpose of this video is to start thinking about how alcohol might be integrating or interacting with your attention and your focus for people that have ADHD or ADD. So the purpose is not to tell you to quit. That's not what I'm going to do. And just like my other videos, I'm not a doctor, so I talk about just real life experience I've had for myself, and then talking to other people that have ADHD. So alcohol absolutely does have an interplay with attention and focus for everyone, and I would say particularly more for people that have ADHD. So here's something in my own experience that I've learned with alcohol. Just like with coffee and previously with nicotine, alcohol was a way for me to manage my ADHD. And the way that I used it would be to motivate myself. So I would get kind of excited to have some beers. I really loved the taste of beers when I was drinking. I loved that there were different kinds of beers, craft beers that would come out. So what I would do is I would kind of plan a project and sort of incentivize myself to drink. So let's say I had to clean the garage. That's always a good one. And maybe if you live in an apartment, you don't have a garage, maybe yours would be, you want to declutter the apartment. Almost about the same thing. So what I would do is I would crank up the music, and I would drink beer. And I would plan to be home to do that project, not drive. And there was a certain amount of energy that I would get from alcohol in that particular situation. So that's one way that I used it. Sort of like a strange way, right? Productivity. But those of you who drink, you probably have had that experience. The other way that I would use it is for awkward social situations. As you know, when you do have attention issues, you have impulsivity. There's times that you say the wrong thing. So having a couple drinks in certain occasions, would really help with that. It would kind of allow me to relax a little bit, and of course, sometimes it would backfire if I drank too much. But just like in a general sense, it helped in kind of some social situations. So that's kind of how I used it as sort of in a way to kind of help with some of my attention issues. I do think there was a way that it interacted with me very negatively, though. So, like with a lot of people who drink regularly, which I did, I started to build up a kind of an anxiety. And the anxiety, I didn't really realize it at the time, but the anxiety was actually being caused, in my opinion, it was being caused by the alcohol. Because what would happen is I would kind of get used to having that feeling of having some drinks, and when I was faced with a situation, for example, a social situation like I mentioned, in a case where I was not allowed to drive because I was, not allowed to drink because I was the designated driver, I would have a certain amount of anxiety of not having the alcohol. Or let's say I had a project I wanted to do at home, or maybe cooking a big dinner, and for whatever reason I wasn't going to drink alcohol. I might have some anxiety would build up. And there's been a lot of studies done with alcohol that is very, very closely related to anxiety. And as you guys know, with ADHD, there's anxiety that often comes with attention issues for a variety of reasons. So I did what a lot of people do, and some people do it successfully long term, and I'm not here to judge anybody. Some people, they're able to cut down and moderate, and they just only drink in social situations. They never drink alone. They make rules for themselves that actually work. I'm going to say, though, I don't have the stats to prove it at this moment. I'm going to say, though, those people are a little more on the rare side, and I think what differentiates them from most people is their relationship that they have with alcohol when they decided to moderate was a very reasonable and light relationship to begin with. Most people, when they get to the point where they're like, I'm going to moderate, they feel the need to moderate and cut down, most people, I would say, like maybe 80%, they're already at a point where their relationship with alcohol is very strong. It's very tied into their life, very integrated. In my particular case, what that would mean is alcohol started finding its way into different places I didn't think it would. I mentioned cooking a meal. All of a sudden it was like, you know what, I've got to have those drinks while I'm cooking a meal, or doing a project, or just different things, that I wouldn't expect. I started to notice that. So for me, and this is the same with smoking, for me, I found it just easier to quit. It was a big decision. I had a lot of support though, a very supportive wife, kids, I didn't go to meetings or anything like that to quit. I just listened to some podcasts that inspired me, and I just did a cold turkey quit. I let myself eat a lot of ice cream and sweets, and do some other fun things like sleep in a little bit and things like that, kind of give myself a break. But quitting had a remarkable effect on my attention. And because I had drinking most of my life, I never really knew, right? So it took maybe 2 months for me to really notice it. But all of a sudden, my attention really improved. There was like an evenness, a steadiness, and just my overall mood improved. But we're talking about ADHD, so you think about some of the things you struggle with: forgetfulness, focus, impulsivity, being awkward socially, not being able to keep track of time. Like, all of that stuff improved. And I would say at 2 months is when I really noticed it. And then in about 6 months, probably, I was able to start building better habits that I'd never been able to do before. In my case, that would be practicing music. I play a couple different instruments, and I found it very easy to kind of like build a habit. Like, that's something with alcohol in my life before, it just was really hard for me to do that, because I would often just, drink and have fun drinking, and hang out at the house, or maybe sometimes drink at a bar, and then I wouldn't pursue some of those goals. So anyway, so let's say you are a drinker right now, which most people are. I mean, you basically, if you want to think about your ADHD and you want to think about your drinking, what I would recommend is just start in an easy way. Just kind of notice like what's happening with your attention in general. Like maybe keep track of your drinks. It could be a tracker. There's apps that do it, or it could be, you could just put a note in your phone, or you could do a handwritten note. Just kind of notice how much you're drinking, and then see if you're able to observe how it's affecting your attention, your mood. See if it's exacerbating, the symptoms that you have with ADHD. And then you can make the decision at that point if you're going to try to moderate. And I actually really hope you can. It'd be great, I think, especially if you're younger, to be able to moderate, kind of keep things in check. Now, just so you know, some recent data has come out that, no amount of drinking is safe. You have to weigh that yourself, how you feel about that. But let's just say that you're an adult, you decide you're gonna moderate, you think you can keep it in check. Hey, good luck to you. I hope you can. I know people that can. But I would say, if you don't think that's you, I want to tell you that there is great news about quitting. And I think the biggest thing to know is that when you quit, maybe at first you think, oh, I'm not going to have any more fun. I got to tell you guys, that goes away quickly. You go through a little bit of a slump for most people, like I did, but then you start picking up things again that you like to do, and you find yourself doing them with a mineral water or a soda, and the emphasis just kind of leaves the focus from alcohol to the things that you actually like doing, whereas before you were doing them with alcohol. So I wish you the best. I would say, if anything, maybe just take one step. Just notice how alcohol is interplaying with your attention, and good luck.